Hey everyone, welcome back to Almost Inevitable Tutorials. My name is still PK, and in this video I'll be going over a new feature added to Breakdance 2.4 that I'm very excited is finally happening, and that is ACF Flexible Content Field implementation. There's a list of timestamps down below in the comments for you to skip through some parts, so if you know what ACF Flexible Content Fields are, please feel free to skip through. Now let's start with what these Flexible Content Fields are. Simply put, ACF Flexible Content Fields, commonly known as flexible fields, is similar to repeater fields, but allows for different layouts in each block through conditions. And this is the best way to provide a builder-level content management system for clients while keeping the front-end build intact from their curious hands. You can set up a variation of layouts and they'll be able to choose from that selection that you built for them. A simple example of this would be to use flexible fields on a services page where some services might have different layouts depending on the content while keeping things looking consistent. Or you could use them for things like portfolio pages because some projects might require different layouts to showcase different things. ACF also has very robust targeting rules in place, so you can build the fields to not only show on certain custom post types, also on certain pages, and even on certain sub pages. This tutorial is in two parts. One, basic flexible fields usage, walking you through how to get things going, and two, a much more interesting way of using flexible fields that I'm sure you will enjoy. So let's get into it. I've done some parts already just to speed things up, and I will be going over some parts that will, show you how to do things. So it'll be a mix. So I've set up flexible fields, right? Now this has been set up as, to show on a page. And here is how you target those pages. You say page is equal to flexible fields is what I've put in right now. I'll go into more targeting a little bit later, but this is where it's been set up currently. Well, we can add more, okay? All right, so custom builder is what I just named it, and it is flexible content. As you can see, that is the type. Now this is only for ACF Pro. The free version does not have this. Okay, so I've added a few layouts. Okay, I've added a few layouts. Now, what I've done here, and this is a quick tip that will really help you when you're adding all this stuff, is that name them in a very easy, logical way. Okay, name them in an easy, logical way. Like, for example, here I've used flexible field hero, flexible fields logo, flexible field services, single image, CTA, staff. They're all distinct and they're all prefixed by flexible field. And inside this, it's best that I've found to name them sort of as inheriting from the layout title itself. So the label is hero main. In this case, this name will automatically be assigned, so you don't need to worry about it. Just go from here, click on tab, and you'll get that name. If you don't have that name, it won't work, so just make sure it's there. It'll be there automatically. Now, I use a plugin. It's an ACF add-on that's been in the plugins repo for a very long time, and it's called ACF Columns. And I like using this because it makes things look a lot neater. The annoying thing is that it shows up when you choose the field in the Breakdance builder when you click on dynamic options, but having a distinct name makes it very easy for me to find them. So that's how I get around that issue. But this makes everything look a lot neater, and it really does feel like you've set up a pretty good builder section for the clients. This is set as 1/2, and once you're done with the 1/2, you can reset and you can start making new columns. And in this case, you'll see a reset in this case. So that's half column, and then reset, and then you start over again. Okay, so I'll go to this in a minute. And these are all just assigned as whatever field is needed. Now, in this case, what I've done is I've actually gone to this page. I've made a sample page called Flexible Templates, and I've just loaded what is the real estate template from Breakdance. And you can see that it's not all of it is showing at the moment because the fields have not been assigned. We're going to get into this in a minute, into more detail in a minute. And we don't of course need the header or anything. That's, yeah, but they've all been assigned as global blocks at this moment. Okay. This I will go into in a minute, but still that's what I've done. And this is what I've added from the Breakdance templates. So that's the hero, and as you can see, it needs a heading, a blurb, and a button and an image. So that is what I've built here. So heading, paragraph, button, text, and button link. The button text and the button link have been set to 50%, so they can sit side by side inside that half column. So they are technically 25%, but it's half of that column, and that is what this will show. The reason why I do this is because the hero image, if you give everything else to 50% and then the text and the button, text and the link 25%, they won't stack properly because these fields still use CSS float. So if something overlaps, then it gets caught in the float and all that kind of stuff. It becomes a mess. So I just use ACF columns to help organize all the fields and make them look like they should. Logo carousel, you can actually use a gallery for that, which is great. The services, in this case, that's a half column, that's a half column, so one half, and then you reset, so you start over, you start fresh, and these are all 33%, as you can see, and 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The reason why I put them 1, 2, 3 is because I said they float, so they stack from right to left, and then you get the next row right to left, and these are all the same height, so they'll all stack properly. Putting the number at the end of things really helps when you're duplicating them. For example, sample test 1, and then you put that in there, and then you duplicate. ACF will automatically give you a 2 because it detects that number there. And then you duplicate that again, you get a 3. If it's inside, for example, if you call this one sample 2 sample test, duplicate that, it becomes a copy. So putting the number at the end really simplifies a lot of your field additions and stuff like that. Okay, and another one that I have here is a single image, so we can have a full image there, and we will be adding an option to this. Okay, so here I'm going to add a button group like that. Button groups look pretty good because they can click on things, and it looks pretty sleek as opposed to radio buttons. So the field label will be content size, right? But of course it should be FF single image content size, and that is cool. There we go. And then let's add our options. All right, so the choices, I always mention this, but it should be the value, space, colon, and then the label. Okay. All right. So you can leave this at value for the return value, but still, whenever you're writing things like this, you need a space between the colon before and after. So full width. So full width and container. I guess people would understand that. Let's give it a container for default. There we go. And that's good. All right, so we can also add a CTA with a heading, blurb, button text, button link, and all that kind of stuff. We can add a background image. If there is no background image, You can have it not show using conditions and stuff like that, or a fallback. And then in the staff, this is what I will show you later. Inside staff, we also have an extra flexible content, and this is very cool. So this is for the second part of this tutorial. Okay, so I'll just add that stuff in the custom builder field. Okay, so we have all that, and you can see these things have already been assigned, right? So it says services heading. Now, the reason why I said it's good to name them in a certain way is because here you can actually just type sir, and then you can find all the services, right? All the services fields. So it's a heading, blurb, they're all here. So it helps a lot when you're searching for things. So that's why it's good to keep them with all the things inside a group or inside the layout to have a certain name in front, like a prefix, just so it's easy to add them. All right, we're not going to be using these guys, but of course you can add all this. You can build your layouts depending on what you see here, right? So this is one image, surprisingly. I thought it was 3. This is one image, and then you can have like a heading, blurb, and then button text and button link. And then you can just make that into another layout. Okay? All right, so I'll get to this guy later because that's in staff. I'll get to that later. Now, once you've assigned all this stuff, and this is what I'm going to do right now, we're going to make that into a global block. Now, the global blocks are already, I've made 2 of them already over here. So you can see flexible fields, section, logo carousel, and hero, right? So this is services, so we'll assign that as services like this, okay? It's always good to name them in a very clear naming system, I guess, yeah. And try to adopt a more BEM type approach. BEM as a philosophy would be the larger one coming in front, and then the more detailed words, the modifiers coming after, so appended, okay? And in this case, flexible field is the main determiner of what this global block is supposed to be doing, and then we can say that this is a section, and this is a services section. So that means that when you check all the global blocks, they are all together. So that is much easier for you to tell them apart, as opposed to saying services, section, flexible fields, and then logo carousel, section, flexible fields. They will get mixed in the alphabetic order. So try to get a good naming system, and it's always best to have the larger one in front and the modifiers and the smaller detailed words in the back. So I'm going to save this. It doesn't really matter because you can see that the global block has already been saved, but we're going to get out of this now. And like I said, I'll get to this guy later and the staff later. And that means that we've built the hero, the logo carousel, and the services. So we will go check them out and add some content to the flexible fields on this page, flexible fields page, and then we'll see how we can load them. Okay, here we are. That's the page. It says flexible fields, and we're going to go edit that. Now, I've added some code to clean out all this and make it look like there's nothing else but the flexible fields and I think this is a lot cleaner than having Gutenberg and then going underneath the Gutenberg editor and stuff like that. So that's what I've done here. But let's add some rows. So you can see hero main, right? Logo carousel. Now this is better than repeater fields because A, you can have totally different layouts, very, very different fields. And also B, in repeater fields, you can rearrange the order, but I like this interface a lot more. It looks a lot neater, and people really understand this a lot better than repeater fields, because repeater fields are in a table and they feel a little bit more fixed than the flexible fields. Okay, so we can add the logo carousels, we can add the services. I'll just do the services, and you can see now these are all 33%. So, and that is, you can see that there's no line here. So that means that we're using the ACF column, and then we reset that column, and then now 33%, like I said, they float left. So title 1, title 2, title 3, next line, blurb 1, blurb 2, blurb 3, and so on and so forth. Right? So I'll add some content here. Okay, and here we have all the content. Now these are not icons that go on top. These are backgrounds, so I just gave them larger images. If you have a layout that uses icons, of course you can make them like that. But the layout here is not that, so that's why it's like that. Okay, so I've added some links. These are none of these are, important. It's just I'm using Cupcake Ipsum for the content and the text. And the links are just links to these pages here. I'm trying out Headspin, and I'm working on some stuff with this. So please like and subscribe so you get to see more of that stuff. But yeah, these are all just here for samples. But that's about it. So I save that, and that's good. Now on to Breakdance. We can do this directly on the page, or we can set a template for this page, and it'll just work automatically. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's add a template, and it'll be a single post. And let's change the settings so it will work just for that single page at the moment. We'll make it cooler in a bit, but for now, let's just do this. Flexible, whoops. There we go. And it'll be a page, and that page will be flexible fields. Okay. All right. I'll make subpages work in a minute, but we'll just go for this right now. Okay. All right. Let's edit this in Breakdance, and let's go in. And now this is, like I said, in 2.4. I'm currently running 2.4 RC2, I think RC1. So it will come out soon. So when you get 2.4, this will be it. And from this point on, it will have this flexible content element. But if you're not on 2.4 yet, update and you'll get this. Okay, so we're going to add custom builder as the content field. Now, this is truly a very, very, very brilliant way of doing this while using global blocks and a very familiar interface. I really like the Breakdance UI and how they sorted this out. This is really good. So right now you're adding a block which is loading from custom builder, and the layout is one of these. So we're going to add hero, and this will assign a global block. This is pretty much how you would do this if you were coding. And you can see it's working. It's just fine, right? Of course, the original design of this has a half image and stuff like that, but that's not important. As long as it's loading properly, that's fine. The original PHP version of this is using conditionals, just checking if the layout has a certain name. So that's where the field name comes in. And then depending on that, you can load a template, or you can load it directly in the code. But yeah, that's exactly how that works. So this is pretty much what the flexible fields is doing. So pretty much how ACF works, I guess, is a better way of saying that. And let's add services, and we've already added these 3, so they should be fine. Okay, and voila, awesome. And I realized that this is really cool because this is just an image accordion, and it still works because anything that can take an ACF field will work. So that's really good. And that's the page that we're previewing. Of course, you can preview directly here, and that's cool. But we're going to take it a step further now. Okay. All right. So this is great. What can we do to expand on this? Well, we can go to the ACF fields, and in this field, what we're going to do is we're actually going to add this builder to any page that is a child page of Flexible Fields. All right, so you can see here I've made Flexible Fields child page, and currently there's nothing there. Okay, like I said, I've taken out the builder, I've taken out Gutenberg, so that's why you can't see anything there. So currently there's nothing there. Now if we add page parent is equal to Flexible Fields, then it will show. Okay, so let's go back and let's check, and you can see now we have our Flexible Fields. Okay, so that means that we're going to have to make the template do that as well. So let's do that. Let's go add that, and then let's add a condition. Page parent is Flexible Fields. And that means that we don't even need to touch any page, and it'll still work. So you can see these guys, they don't have the word Breakdance on them because they're not built directly with Breakdance. They just use the template. And that means that the clients can just go in to this page and they can actually change things if they wanted to. So now we're going to go on to part 2 of this video, because in part 2 I'm going to walk you through how to add that single image with conditionals, and also I'm going to show you how the staff part works, which is very cool. Okay, welcome to part 2, and we're going to add that single image now. The reason why we're doing this in the global box area and not in the template area is because, well, it's not too much of a difference, but we're just going to add some conditions so it's easier to see it in a controlled environment. It doesn't really matter, but it's just to make it easier for you to see what's going on. All right, so single image. And let's edit that. So we're going to add 2 sections, but we're going to finish one section before we add the other. So section and then add an image. So this image is going to have a width of 100%, and we'll probably give it like an aspect ratio like that. It depends on the image, and what the client adds and stuff like that, but you know, it'll be fine. Okay, size, we're going to make it full width like that. That's good. Maybe with this one we'll take out some of the padding, so we'll make it 1 rem on top and bottom, just so it's the same all around. So we get that. Okay, and we need to now connect that image to the thing. There we go. All done. All right, so now we need to add a condition. So in this case, it's going to be, I wish, one thing that I've noticed is I would like the cursor to be in the right spot. So if you click on add condition, I would like, see that I'm using the arrow keys and it's not working. I would like the cursor to just go here if possible. I don't know. So we do that. And another, same thing, I would like the cursor to be in the search bar by default, because it makes it a lot easier. I actually just end up putting my mouse around here just so it's an easy click, but moving your hand back and forth from the keyboard and mouse or the trackpad is an extra little bit of work that sort of could be simplified for what is it, UX reasons. All right, so the condition is that this image content size will be full width. Okay, so we're going to add that in here, apply that, and that's done. All right, so we'll duplicate this and then we'll take out the things that made this full width. So if you look here, yeah, there we go. It's not showing that well, but you can see that this one is all the way to the edge and this almost all the way to the edge, and this one is not. It's in the container, so yeah, that's a little more apparent there. Okay, so that's good. Let's change this condition to make it container. There we go, and that should take care of that. Now in the templates, let's add that extra block that we just built. So let's go to the blocks. There we go. Add a block, pick a single image, and then we're going to choose a single image block and save that. And that means that now if we do it here, we add a single image here, and it's in container right now. Let's make it full width just to see, and update that, and it should be good. There you go. All good. Okay, let's move on to the staff members. Okay, staff members would be very cool. There's a couple of things that we need to think about before we do it, but I'll get to that right now. So let's go to the templates. There we go. So this is a template that we're going to use. So probably should go up. There we go, to the div that contains everything, right? You see that that's the one that contains everything, and this is the next one. We don't need that guy, we just need this guy, right? Okay, so let's add those dynamic blocks, not dynamic block, dynamic fields. So we got a staff block image, that's the one, and we're going to make this the staff heading. That is the staff position. And this is the staff blurb. There we go, all done. Okay, so now we're going to make this into a global block. All right, card staff. Okay, all done, and let's get out of here. Okay, in the staff block, the staff layout, I've added an extra flexible content. All right, extra flexible content in here, and this will actually act as an area that people can move things around. So it's basically just making another block in here, another layout in here that will have the image, the heading, the position, and the blurb, which is not a huge difference from what we were doing before. The only main difference right now is if you go to presentation, I've added a class. Now this can be any class that you want, but I've added this AI, as in almost inevitable, AI flexible fields, rows, and 3 in a row. So this will help us manage, this class will give us a targeting selector that we can use to make these layouts like a builder, a drag and drop builder. So what we need to do is have CSS on the back end, and I'll show you how I do that. You can actually get the blurbs, not the blurbs, the content, the PHP and the CSS from the post, the link to the post down below, and the link to the post down below. And what I do is I add an extra admin style. So this is the class that I've just added, and if you check the inspector on the back end, you'll see that it is loaded on the same level as ACF Field Flexible Content, and you need to go inside to the values, and that is the area that the smaller blocks, the layouts that go inside, will load. So we're going to flex that and then wrap it so it will break lines. And then each block, because it's rows of 3, I've decided to give it a gap of 1 rem. So we're going to make it 100% minus 2 rem, which is the 2 gutters, and then divide that by 3 as the width, and the margin top they will automatically add a margin on top. So we're going to take that out, and now everything will be good. So you can load this with a PHP snippet that works on the back end. So there's one part, here it is. You'll get this PHP snippet as well, so you can load that, and then you'll be able to load CSS on the back end to style some stuff. And I use this quite often. I use this, like, for example, for a client site, some parts, because clients don't understand where to go and they get confused about all this. what I do is I make some parts like posts, pages, and whatever green so they can actually see where they are allowed to go into. And that has helped with a lot of clients who get sort of overwhelmed by the back end. Okay, so now that this has all been loaded, I'll show you how this works in real life. Backend is also cached, so you need to refresh the cache once you add that CSS. But now, if I add a staff, you get this. It looks pretty unassuming, but you can see that it is an extra flexible content field here inside a layout. And we can add a row, and it is a third. You can make more, and they also break line. So that is pretty cool. You can even move them around like that. So this works pretty well, right? So a client, if they were to be adding staff members and they want to, and of course people want to move things around, this is a very nice way of presenting the back end for them, and they feel like they've gotten a custom back end builder. Okay, I'll be filling this in and we'll keep continuing. Okay, so I've made 4 people and we're going to move these guys around like that. And now we got them alternating. It doesn't have to alternate, it just depends on the position and stuff like that, but it's all been populated. So now I'll save this and we'll go build that block. With this, there are 2 layers because this is a flexible field inside a flexible field. So we need to make 2 global blocks for this. So one is the card, and there's a flexible block around it, a global block around it, and then that goes into this layout. So we're not going to go into building the template just yet. We need to build another global block before we do that. So let's go build that extra global block. So now this will be section staff. Could be staff grid or something like that, I guess, but we'll just go with staff. And let's make this a section. There we go. And then let's add a flexible field. All right. So the flexible field will be staff members because it is inside the custom builder. And then the block will be a staff. And then we'll add that card like that. Yep. And now we can make this into a grid. 3 per, 1 at, okay. Space between, I'm sure you know, yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm sure you know I don't like paddings on any of these because it's easier to control without any of them. And space between, 1 rem. Should be good. Okay. And let's add that block. All right, flexible fields. And can't see it. Let me see that. Okay. Staff. There we go. And we're going to do a section. And yeah, cool. I do need to change some layouts, some sizes and stuff, but it's loading in the right order that we want it to. So we'll fix that right now and it should be good, right? All right, so let's go and edit that global block just so we can make sure that it works. Okay, so you'll see here the container should be 100%. It's because it's imported from when it was a little under half size. So we'll save that, and that should take care of everything. Let's have a look. There we go. Awesome. We might have to work on the heights, like make the heights auto stretch so they will all fit in the proper height vertically. But there you go. It works pretty well. And I've realized this. I realized that this would have been possible because I've done repeater fields inside repeater fields before a few times, and it worked beautifully because the way that it works is pretty much the same way as you would have coded it in PHP. So of course it's going to work. So there we go. Everything is working now. So I'll show you how you can make that container and update that. And now you will see that page, the image, will now be fit inside the container. How wonderful is that? And again, like I said, you can actually have people moved around like that over there. Okay, if we do that, save that, then we will see the people moving around, polo winning in this case. So we'll see more polos. There we go. Awesome, right? Okay, so like I said, flexible fields are a very, very powerful field. If you plan this out according, especially it helps when you have a proof. If you plan this out properly and implement everything like that, then the whole site build is just copy pasting content after that once you finish building this. So it can even become like a basis for your templates in the future. You can build a bunch of this, import all of that, and then just build out and just change the styles. So this is a very, very powerful new feature in Breakdance 2.4. It is still a very powerful feature in ACF, which is why a lot of developers use this. I use this a lot as well. And now that it's come to Breakdance, I think this is the only builder at the time of recording that does this. And I think that's why Breakdance is pretty much an industry leader in this case. So there you have it. I hope you picked up some useful ideas from this tutorial. And if you have any questions, please leave comments down below. I have a lot of cool new stuff in the works, so please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.